This week, Daryl Watson. Daryl is a MC rapper from Jersey, if I remember correctly. We're going to talk about a new album coming out. We're going to talk about how he got to where he is, and as you can tell by the jersey, he's a bit of a hoop head. So we're going to talk some sports too. Daryl, how you doing, man?
What's going on, Ant? How you doing? Thanks for having me up here. What's going on, everybody in TV land?
I'm doing good. So listen, I got to start with, because you're pointing back to that picture. What is that picture? Because I can't see it. What is it?
All right, so this picture right here is like one of the oldest pictures I had as a young boy. Remember those little book fairs you had in like elementary, middle school?
Well, let me pause and tell you, my son was at his book fair, and he knows that I am a Laker fan. And he came home with this, and that's why LeBron and the Lakers. That's why that's there. So
that's how it is. This is an older picture I got. It's like from like definitely early 2000s, but you know, we got Lakers number 9, Nick Van Axel. We got Jason Kidd. We got a whole collage of like Ray Allen, Sean Elliott. Some of the players, like, you know, that was back then. So yeah, some of the greats, you know, the good era.
Well, let's start there, because obviously the NBA Finals are done. The Golden State Warriors, who weren't supposed to be here, won again.
They did.
What are your thoughts on the final?
Boston sold out, man. They sold out. Like I expected better. I just expected better, man. I expected better. For all that, Jimmy Butler should hit the shot.
Jimmy Butler should have. I'm not mad. He took the shot. He should have hit the shot. I had Boston. Listen, I had Boston. I said Boston next year. I thought they were young and that next year would be their year. But then when they made it to the final, I'm like, you know what? Why not them? So I actually picked the Celtics in 7, so I'm a little upset. However, hey, Steph just doing Steph things. It kind of showed us that he can play in a closeout game where, you know, we weren't sure if he could. So hats off to the Warriors.
Hats off to the Warriors. But Boston, I don't know. I don't know. Next year it's going to be tough for both teams to make it back.
Yeah. Oh, it's always tough to make it back. But like I said, I think Boston's young enough and they'll have a chance. Yeah. All right. Let me get before we jump into the music, tell me your way too early NBA prediction. Who's going to be in it next year?
Out the East, I'm going to say I'm going to go for 2, the Bucks or the Sixers.
Okay.
If this James Harden situation
I'm with you on the Bucks. The Sixers.
I mean, that's a lot of ifs. But I mean, when they first got those two together, though, it was looking like, oh man, you got Harden, you can't stop them. But they stopped themselves. Sometimes that's the only thing, yourself.
And okay, then the West.
Clippers. I'm liking what I see.
Clippers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the dark horse.
Okay, all right, Clippers.
I mean, although a lot of other teams did re-up, the Mavs re-upped, the Grizzlies will be older, but I don't know. I feel like Kawhi didn't play for a whole year. You know, he's super fresh.
If he's the old Kawhi, and the rest of the team plays the way they played this year, because people keep knocking the Lakers or giving the Lakers excuses. You know, LeBron got hurt. He's played 50-something games. AD got hurt. He played 40-something games. Their third best player, Russ, played 70-plus games. So to say their top players were hurt, yeah, it's true, but Kawhi didn't. Kawhi played 0. Yeah. Paul George played, 20?
Yeah, and even when they got Norman Powell, they got him halfway through the season, right?
And that team still made I don't say the playoffs. They made the play-in without their 2 best players. So if all those guys continue to play well, maybe that's not as crazy. Yeah.
Hartenstein, Zubac was getting their runs. They was looking better. And you got Norman Powell. I don't know. Yeah. Man.
And Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson looked good too. Yeah. You know what? Okay. At first I thought it was crazy because you said the Clippers, but maybe it's not as crazy.
I'm just saying they're all the way rested.
All right, fair enough. All right, so let's get into the music. So when you first start, one, how do you how do you realize I can do this? Like, are you just tell me the story of how you got started, and then we can get into, like, I know you've been in a couple groups, now you're going solo, but let's start with, how do you get into it? Is it just you're doing it at home and you're like, oh, I'm pretty good at this, or something else?
I mean, when I was younger, I was in band, playing like the drums and the xylophone and things like that. But also just growing up, like, my dad would listen to funk music all the time. And like just growing up as a kid, like, CDs was first coming out. So it's like, I can buy my own music and listen to what I want to listen to, So it was just like from that and just picking it up. And it's just.
Is there a first, do you remember, sorry to cut you out, is there a first CD or artist that you remember hearing or buying and being like, oh, and that's what kind of, because I always tell everybody the story. People are like, how'd you get into hip hop? And I'm like, because someone gave me a cassette.
Right.
It was LL Cool J radio. I put it in. I think I wore it out. I played it so often. I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm in. I forgot about like all other kinds of music. And I was like, all right, this is for me. So did you have that kind of moment? Was there something like that? Or
I think it was just like the time, like Jay-Z, like H to the Izzo came out when I was like 10. Like, you know what I'm saying? From like Jay-Z to like, I remember 50 Cent and Eminem and Kanye and like T.I. Actually seeing all this, develop, And I'm 30, so I'm not old, but I was born in 91. So that's like that millennial age where it's like, I'm kind of closer towards, whatever after millennial, but I still remember a lot of the earlier stuff. So it's like a lot of that happened at one time.
Yeah, see, I'm older, right? So I grew up with like, so LL Cool J obviously had just come out, right? It was Rakim, it was Big Daddy Kane, it was, so that's what I grew up, and then I
transitioned. Like Master Kaz, like I like 80s
that
stuff.
Kind of transitioned me into like, Tribe is forever and always be my favorite group. So it was like Tribe, there's all that kind of stuff, and so I've kind of seen the whole, I think, evolution. So yeah, I'm a little bit older, but anyways, I'll let you keep going.
But no, I love 80s too. Like I listen to it all. Like you said, Grandmaster Kaz. You got like Pete Rock, CL Smooth from the 90s. Like it's like you know what I'm saying. So there's a lot. Honestly, personally, I think the 90s was the best because you had to be more original.
But you could also be more original.
Yes.
Because as a form of music, it hadn't been out very long. So like when we heard, like I remember, so I mentioned all the previous guys, like I remember when like I said like Tribe or Jungle Brothers or Black Sheep or Das Effects, when they came out, that was never been done before. And so I think we get to that point where almost everything has been done, and now it's just it's harder to be original now because there's less things to do. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. All right, so you get into CDs, you start. So sorry, was there, I cut you off. Who was that first? Was there that first artist that kind of,
I mean,
my favorite, maybe, if you don't have
my favorite is definitely tied between Biggie and Kanye. I can't pick one over the other.
So, they're very different. How do you?
I mean, I feel like as far as like them both themselves, like they're like how they are on the track and how people say they are, or how people are, like it's very like the fact that they're authentic to themselves. And then like they just have both crazy egos that like elevate them, because Biggie at that time, like you were saying, like he didn't have like the sex appeal, whatever at that time. So he just came out being himself. Kanye, he came out in a time where like your street cred had to be all the way up. Like he came at the complete opposite of what he was. To the point where like if Kanye came out now, it'd be easy because it's more accepted not to have like how it was. But at that time, it was really hard. So both of them kind of went against the mold a lot.
Okay.
And then Biggie rapped on a lot of West Coast beats. He showed a lot before he passed.
Yeah. So how do you? So you're listening to the music, you're buying your CDs,
right?
When do you figure out? You know what? I'm gonna do this.
I think about like 17, 18, like around that time. That's like Lupe Fiasco, Kick Push, and like stuff around that time. So like you writing your stuff. This is when YouTube first came out, so you can find a beat, write to it, whatever, and going to the studio back and forth. But it wasn't really until I turned 19 when I made my first project with my friend Ryan, who goes by Go to Emphy, who we still work together now. But I was 19, he was 18, and we made like our first project together, like all the way through. Cause like to me, it was like I just going back to like my two favorites. It's like their albums are so good. their songs are so good. You know, even though like skill wise, Biggie's here. Like Kanye to me is not the strongest skill wise, but song making wise, I don't think there's much better.
Well, and that's why I said they're very different. Like when I think of Biggie, I think of like his flow. And when I think of Kanye, I'm like, I listen to his lyrics, I'm like, damn, like people don't realize how deep what he just said was. You know what I mean? So like that's why when you said those two, I was like, oh, that's interesting because they're on both great, but on different ends of that spectrum for me. Okay. So you get it. So you start doing it, and then how is that when you get? I forget the name of the first group. You jump right into that, or are you solo at this point?
I mean, I jump right into it, but I mean, even though it's a group, it's still kind of like a Pete Rock, well, more like a Rakim and Eric B type genre. Like Ryan would make the beats, I would make the rhyme. So even though it's like a group, it's still, you know, it's more like a gray
MC, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So then kind of walk me through that. So you go from that, and then just how you
from there. That's 2011. Then 2012, we come out with another one. 2013, I come out with another one. Both of those were hosted by DJ VIP, who was at the time Nipsey Hussle's RIP, his DJ. From there, we've just been pushing out through press. Then I started working with one of my best friends, Mark Thomas, and my friend Mike Burrell from New York. And Mark Thomas has been on a lot of the things I've had going on. He's a great saxophone player. We formed Last Cabal, and then from there we had 2 projects. Last summer, 16 tracks for That Ass is out, and this summer I got something real crazy coming. So,
all right. So before we get to this, coming out this summer, can you give us your? So we're talking with Daryl Watson. Tell me, give everybody kind of and I'll put all the links in the bio below. But where can people find you on social?
Sure. So my main website is Daryl DARRYL-Watson.live. That's my website. My youtube.com, Daryl Watson NJ. And all my socials is Daryl_Watson. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, etc. TikTok, all of that.
Yes, and as you can go to Spotify, because that's where I've been listening to your stuff. Go to Spotify and listen to and check it out as well. So tell us about what's going on this summer. I think it's August. Something news dropping in August. Is that correct?
So the first half of July, I'm gonna drop 2 singles, and in August, I'm coming out with a project called 31 for 31. So we're gonna have 31 tracks, perfect ratio, 31 for 31. It's gonna be crazy production. It's going to have a lot of different feels, working with a lot of different artists from around the way, a couple of artists from overseas. It's going to be a nice little summer mixtape, you know.
So how would you describe, so if someone who's never heard anything you've done before, how would you describe what you do? Like whether it be compared to another artist or just in terms of your sound? Because you already said I worked a lot with this saxophone player, which is not common nowadays. So how would you describe your sound?
I would say it's very eclectic. I would say on this, and you're going to see it on this project, you're going to have some more laid back, old school type feels. And then you're going to have, you might have a posse cut in there, but then you might have something that's mad, like on a soulful end. You might have something more on a trap end. So a lot of different things go together. Just as much as I like some of my favorite artists, like you said, like the whole Kanye and Biggie. Like the rest of my 5 is crazy. Like you be
so give me your top 5, and then I'm going to end it with the hardest question that anyone's going to ask you. So I'm going to give me your top 5, and then one last hardest question.
Top 5 favorites.
Top 5, yeah, favorites, not the best. Your favorite.
So Kanye and Biggie 1 and 2, 1A, 1, 2. We'll say that. Jay, Missy Elliott, and 5. It always rotates, but today I think it's Snoop.
Okay. All right. I got to ask you a different question now. So I'm actually going to push my other question back a second, because you're the second person I've heard in 2 days. One was Wayne. He had Missy at 1, and you have Missy in your top 5.
Yeah. That's
not a very common name that people have in their top 5. Why do you have Missy in your top 5?
Well, aside from, if we're talking,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, yeah.
Female wise, I think she's number 1. And not only that, but personally, I do think she's number 1 because she can sing. She writes for other artists, and she has the best, out of Aaliyah or Justin Timberlake or Tweet or Genuine, she has the best chemistry with Timbaland, even better than Jay-Z, I would say.
Okay.
Which is tough.
And if you think about it, give me a Missy song you don't like. Right? Like it's very rarely like you're always like, oh yeah, okay, fair enough. All right, so here's the I don't know if you've heard this yet. So that's why I said this might be a hard question. So Drake dropped his new album.
Right.
Not everybody loves it. First, before I ask the question, have you had an opportunity to listen to any or all of it?
I listened to it. You know, I listened to it all the way through.
Do you think the criticism is justified, and or why not?
I think it is a little bit, because coming off of his last album, I don't think that was his best outing. So to follow up something that wasn't your best outing with something that's completely unexpected, I think that together isn't the best. And he dropped it unexpectedly too.
Right. So you have an album that isn't up to your own high standards, and then you follow that up with something that's completely, it almost like the reaction has been, it's like a completely different type of music. It's not,
it's weird, because usually when the artist drops an album that's not their standard and they try to make it up, usually they kind of like go back to
what they know works
or something just to make it right. I mean, if he would have knocked it out the park this one and then came with this, it would have been different. But sometimes I feel like, I mean, he's at a point where maybe it's just what he wants to do, and I respect that.
Okay. All right, so I'll just recap Daryl Watson. I'm going to ask you for your handles again in a second, but Daryl Watson dropping some new stuff coming out in August. His top 5, if I get one wrong, correct me, but I'm going to see if I remember it correctly. So you got Biggie and Kanye, kind of 1A, 1B. You got Jay, Missy, Snoop right now, but your number 5 switches all the time. So I'm going to ask anyone who's watching this, go in the comments, give me your favorite 5, not the best 5, your favorite 5. Because my favorite 5, I'll give you mine. Rakim, LL, Jay, Pac. And see, I'm with you on number 5. Always just kind of, I'm gonna put Missy in there. You inspire me. I'm gonna put Missy at 5. All right, so give us your top 5. All right, so give us your socials one more time, and then I'm gonna let you go. Be sure to check out Daryl Watson right here.
So yeah, Daryl Watson, Daryl-Watson.live is the website, and Daryl Watson, Daryl_Watson for all social sites. Daryl Watson.
All of those links are gonna be down below in the comments. This is Daryl Watson's story, and now you're more fluent in it.